The ultimatum. Dominic Ferreira drummed his fingers against the polished mahogany table as his grandmother. Beatrice leveled him with her signature steely gaze. The floor-to-ceiling windows of the Ferreira Towers executive suite framed the San Francisco skyline behind her, a kingdom she had helped build and now threatened to withhold. "Your grandfather would be disappointed, Dominic," she said, her Portuguese accent thickening, as it always did when she invoked her late husband. 40 years old and still playing bachelor while our competitors circle like vultures. Dominic loosened his tie. "The company's value has tripled under my leadership, Vovo. Well, I hardly think my marital status affects our stock prices." "About stocks," Beatrice snapped, sliding a folder across the table. "It's about stability, continuity, family. The board agrees. You have 1 year to marry, or we install your cousin Regina as CEO." The folder contained a short list of suitable women daughters of business partners, politicians, and old money families. Dominic felt his stomach turn. "This is archaic," he protested. "We're living in 2025, not 1925. Some traditions exist." "For a reason," Beatrice replied, rising with the aid of her cane. "The Ferreira name means something. Your choice reflects on all of us." After she left, Dominic loosened his tie completely and stared at the city below. His phone buzzed with a reminder. He'd promised to pick up his nephew Hudson from soccer practice. His sister Penelope was traveling again, another archaeological dig in Peru, leaving her son in Dominic's care for the month. 30 minutes later, Dominic watched Hudson kick the ball across the field with surprising precision for an 8-year-old. The boy spotted him and ran over, his dark curls bouncing. "Uncle Dom, did you see that pass? Coach says I'm getting better." "Definitely World Cup material," Dominic agreed, ruffling Hudson's hair. On the drive home to the Ferreira estate in Woodside, Dominic found himself confiding in his nephew. "Your great-grandmother thinks I need to get married." Hudson considered this with surprising seriousness. "Do you want to?" "Someday, to the right person. But Vovo has a list of appropriate candidates, like a princess in a fairy tale." Hudson asked, scrunching his nose. "Society princesses," Dominic corrected, "women from important families who'd make suitable Ferreira wives." They pulled through the estate gates as Hudson unbuckled his seatbelt. "That's silly. You should marry someone who makes you happy. Like Ms. Valentina." Dominic nearly missed the driveway. "It's Valentina? Our housekeeper? She's the nicest person ever," Hudson declared confidently. "She helps me with homework and makes those special cookies when I'm sad. And she smiles, real smiles, not fake ones, like those ladies at your parties." As they entered the house, Valentina Rousseau appeared in the foyer, her dark hair pulled back in a simple bun, warm brown eyes lighting up at the sight of Hudson. "There's my soccer star. How was practice?" she asked, kneeling to his level. Hudson launched into an elaborate recounting of his achievements, while Dominic stood frozen. Suddenly seeing the woman who had managed his household for 5 years, as if for the first time not as staff, but as a person who genuinely cared for his family. "Mr. Ferreira, do you like coffee in your study?" Valentina asked, catching him staring. "Yes, thank you," he stammered, wondering why he'd never noticed the gentle curve of her smile before. Hudson looked between them with the sly satisfaction of a matchmaker who'd just planted a seed. Seeing through new eyes, the morning sun filtered through the conservatory windows as Dominic nursed his espresso, pretending to read financial reports while actually watching Valentina teach Hudson how to repot orchids. Her hands moved with gentle precision, demonstrating the proper technique for freeing roots without damaging them. "Plants are like people," she explained to the boy. "They need space to grow, but also support." Hudson nodded solemnly, "Like how Uncle Dom gives me space to build my Lego cities, but helps when the bridges collapse." Valentina laughed, a sound Dominic realized he'd heard countless times, but never truly appreciated exactly. "Your uncle is wiser than he knows." 2 weeks had passed since his grandmother's ultimatum, and Dominic found himself increasingly distracted. During business meetings, his thoughts drifted to Hudson's suggestion. During charity galas, he compared every socialite to the woman who managed his home with quiet efficiency. "You seem preoccupied," noted his friend and CFO Tomas during their Weekly racquetball game? Is it the Singaporean merger? Dominic missed an easy shot. Grandmother has given me a deadline to marry. Tomas whistled. The famous Beatrice ultimatum. My condolences. Anyone in mind? Perhaps Jacqueline Windsor? Her father's shipping empire would complement our tech holdings nicely. That's exactly how grandmother thinks, Dominic muttered. As if marriage were just another business transaction. Later that evening, Dominic arrived home early from a tedious dinner with investors. The house was quiet, but lights glowed from the library. He found Valentina there, surrounded by community college textbooks. Mr. Ferreira. She quickly gathered her papers. I'm sorry, I thought you'd be out until later. Please, don't stop. On my account. He gestured to her books. Business administration, non-profit management, she corrected. I'm finishing my degree. Dominic sat across from her. I didn't know you were in school. It's just evening classes, she said, a slight flush coloring her cheeks. I've been saving to open a community center in my old neighborhood. The Mission District has changed so much many immigrant families can't afford after-school programs anymore. That's remarkable, Dominic said, genuinely impressed. It's nothing compared to what you do, she replied. What I do is make money. What you're planning will change lives. The conversation flowed easily after that. Dominic learned that Valentina had practically raised her younger sister Gabriella after their parents returned to Mexico. That she volunteered teaching ESL classes on Sundays. That her laugh deepened when she was truly amused. It's not just being polite. The grandfather clock chimed 11 before they realized how late it had grown. I've kept you too long, Dominic apologized. It was nice to talk, she said simply, gathering her books. Good night, Mr. Ferreira. Dominic, he corrected. Please. The next morning brought Beatrice's first suitable candidate to brunch. Francesca Blackwell, heiress to a media conglomerate, arrived in a cloud of expensive perfume and practiced charm. Throughout the meal, Dominic found himself comparing her rehearsed laughter to Valentina's genuine warmth. Hudson was predictably unimpressed, answering Francesca's condescending questions with increasingly creative responses. And what do you want to be when you grow up? She asked, clearly struggling with child conversation. A professional puddle jumper, Hudson replied seriously, or maybe an astronaut veterinarian. When Francesca excused herself to take a call, Hudson leaned toward his uncle. She didn't even know how to cut her pancakes right. Ms. Valentina says you should always respect your food. As if summoned by her name, Valentina appeared to clear the plates. Francesca returned, eyeing her critically. Coffee was tepid, she remarked dismissively. Something protective flared in Dominic's chest. Valentina manages this household perfectly. Perhaps the coffee simply cooled while you were on your call. After Francesca left, Dominic found Hudson in the garden helping Valentina harvest tomatoes. Did you marry that lady? Hudson asked bluntly. After one brunch? No, Dominic laughed. Good, Hudson nodded approvingly. She wasn't right. Valentina handed Hudson a perfectly ripe tomato. Not everyone finds the right person right away, mijo. Your uncle needs someone special. Their eyes met briefly over Hudson's head, and Dominic felt something shift between them, a momentary acknowledgement of possibility that vanished as quickly as it appeared. That night, Dominic canceled the next 3 suitable meetings his grandmother had arranged. When Beatrice called to demand an explanation, he surprised himself with his answer. I'm exploring other possibilities, he said firmly. Somewhat unexpected. The garden confession, the charity auction, had been a disaster. Dominic tugged at his bow tie as he escaped onto the terrace of the St. Francis Hotel. Leaving behind the glittering ballroom where his date Penelope Rothschild, his grandmother's latest perfect match, was currently flirting with a senator. Penelope had spent the entire evening dropping hints about merging their family fortunes, discussing their hypothetical children's education, and criticizing everything from the catering to the charity's financial structure. When she suggested that people should help themselves instead of relying on handouts, something in Dominic snapped. He checked his watch. Barely 10 o'clock. The night stretched endlessly ahead. His phone buzzed with a text from Hudson. Did you ask her about the homeless people? Did she say mean things? Dominic smiled. His nephew had insisted on vetting questions for his dates. Chief among them being their views on community support and kindness values Hudson had clearly absorbed from Valentina. Yes to both. Heading home early, he texted back when he arrived. At the estate, the main house was quiet. He loosened his tie and wandered toward the gardens. Drawn by the soft glow of the string lights that illuminated the pathways year-round, there, among the roses his grandfather had planted decades ago, he found Valentina. She sat on a stone bench, still in her work clothes, but with her hair down, cascading past her shoulders in gentle waves. In her lap was a battered copy of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Mr. Ferdemonic, she corrected herself, startled. You're home early. The company was insufferable, he admitted, gesturing to the space beside her. May I? She nodded, closing her book. Hudson said your date tonight was with a fancy lady who probably hates puppies. Dominic laughed. His assessment wasn't far off. He sighed, looking up at the stars. My grandmother believes the Ferreira should only marry within certain circles. Old money, strategic alliances, and what do you believe? Valentina asked softly. The question hung between them, weighted with unspoken possibilities. Increasingly, I believe my 8-year-old nephew might be wiser than all of us, Dominic replied. He says, I should marry someone who makes me happy. Valentina's eyes reflected the garden lights. Children often see truth more clearly than adults. Hudson adores you, Dominic said, turning toward her. I've never thanked you properly for how you care for him. It's easy to care for Hudson. He has a beautiful heart. Like his aunt, Dominic said, and like you. Flush crept up Valentina's cheeks. You don't really know me, Dominic. But I want to, he said, surprising himself with his honesty. Past weeks, I've seen glimpses of who you are beyond these walls. Your dedication to your sister, your studies, your community work, you're remarkable, Valentina. She looked down at her worn book. I'm just trying to build something meaningful. Tell me about your community center, he said. What do you envision? Her face transformed as she described her dream, a place where immigrant families could find support, where children could get homework help, where parents could take English classes and find job resources. As she spoke, her hands moved expressively, her voice animated with passion. The building I've been saving for comes up for auction next month, she finished. It's a long shot, but it's perfect central location, right near the bus lines. You'll get it, Dominic said with certainty. A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the distant sound of the fountain. Why do you stay here? He finally asked. Managing my household must be tedious compared to your dreams. Valentina considered this. It's steady work that pays for my education. And ... She hesitated. I feel connected here. To Hudson, to the house itself. Her eyes met his briefly. To the family. Something unspoken passed between them. A current of possibility neither dared name. From the shadows of the pergola, Hudson watched with satisfaction. Operation Match Uncle Dom was proceeding exactly as planned. Earlier, he had accidentally mentioned to Valentina that his uncle loved the garden at night, and coincidentally texted his uncle the moment he spotted Valentina heading outside. With her book, the next morning Hudson found Dominic in his study, staring unseeing at his computer. Did you talk to Miss Valentina in the garden? He asked innocently. Dominic gave his nephew a suspicious look. Did you plan that? Hudson shrugged with elaborate casualness. Maybe, did you know her favorite flowers are sunflowers? Not roses like. Those fancy ladies, Dominic said carefully. What exactly are you trying to do? Helping, Hudson replied simply. Great-grandma wants you to marry someone perfect. Ms. Valentina is perfect. She makes the best chocolate chip cookies and knows all the dinosaurs and never makes me feel stupid for asking questions. Dominic knelt to his nephew's level. Relationships are complicated, buddy. Only because grown-ups make them complicated, Hudson insisted. Do you like her? The question, so direct in its childlike simplicity, cut through weeks of Dominic's confusion. Yes, he admitted. I like her very much. Hudson grinned triumphantly. Then that's all that matters. Family resistance, the weekly Ferreira family dinner, had always been a formal affair, with starched linens and polished silver that reflected the chandelier's glow. Tonight the elegance felt oppressive as Dominic surveyed the faces around the Table, his grandmother Beatrice at the head, cousin Regina and her husband Elliot to the right, his Aunt Josephine and her latest boyfriend to the left, and Hudson beside him, obliviously arranging his vegetables into a smiley face. Dominic had made his decision. 3 nights in the garden with Valentina had evolved into deeper conversations, shared dreams, and finally, a kiss that felt like coming home. Now he needed to stand his ground. "I've met someone," he announced during the second course. Beatrice paused, fork midair. "Wonderful. Which family?" "Not the Rothschilds, I hope." Penelope was dreadfully indiscreet at the charity auction. "Not from your list," Dominic said firmly. "Someone I've known for years, but only recently truly seen." Regina leaned forward, perpetually eager for family drama. "Do tell, cousin, who's the mystery woman?" Dominic took a steadying breath. "Valentina Russo." Silence descended, broken only by the clink of Hudson's fork as he continued eating, blissfully unaware of the tension. "The housekeeper?" Josephine finally asked, her voice pitched higher than usual. "She's far more than that," Dominic replied. "She's completing her degree in nonprofit management." "You're sure?" "She has plans to build a community center." "She's intelligent, compassionate. She's the help," Beatrice cut in, her Portuguese accent thickening with anger. "This is unacceptable, Dominic. It's the 21st century, Vovo. Class distinctions like that or this isn't about class," Regina interrupted. "It's about opportunism, just clearly after the Ferreira fortune." Dominic's hands clenched beneath the table. "Valentina has no idea how I feel. We've only just begun to end it immediately," Beatrice commanded. "I won't have the Ferreira name tarnished by scandal. What would our partners think?" "What would the board say?" "I don't care what they say," Dominic replied, his voice hardening. "For once in my life, I've found someone who sees me as more than a balance sheet or a business opportunity." Elliot, always the peacemaker, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should all take time, too. There's nothing to consider," Beatrice declared. "Either Dominic comes to his senses, or the consequences we discussed will stand. Regina is quite prepared to step into the CEO position." Regina at least had the grace to look uncomfortable. "This is ridiculous," Dominic said, standing. "Hudson, we're leaving." "But I haven't had dessert," Hudson protested. "We'll get ice cream on the way home," Dominic promised, taking his nephew's hand. As they neared the dining room doors, they swung open, revealing Valentina with the dessert cart. Her face paled as she registered the tension in the room and Dominic's evident anger. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said quietly. "I can come back." "No need," Beatrice said coldly. "We were just discussing you, Ms. Russo. How convenient." Valentina's eyes darted to Dominic's, confusion evident. "Vovo, don't," Dominic warned. But Beatrice continued, her voice cutting. "Tell me, Miss Russo, when you took this position 5 years ago, was it with the intention of seducing the head of the household? A rather ambitious career move, wouldn't you say?" The color drained completely from Valentina's face. Hudson looked. Between the adults, distress evident in his young features. "That's enough," Dominic snapped. "Valentina, please don't listen to this. Let's go." But Valentina stepped back, her professional mask sliding into place despite the hurt in her eyes. "I should return to my duties. Excuse me." She disappeared through the service door before Dominic could stop her. The drive home was silent save for Hudson's occasional sniffles in the back seat. When they arrived, Dominic went straight to Valentina's quarters in the east wing, only to find her door locked. He knocked gently. "Valentina, please. What you heard. It's not what you think." Answer came. He tried again the next morning, but her assistant Teresa informed him that Ms. Russo had taken personal days. 3 days later, Teresa delivered an envelope to his study. Inside was Valentina's formal resignation, effective immediately, citing personal reasons and apologizing for any inconvenience. No forwarding address, no phone number. Hudson found him staring at the letter, devastated. "Where's Ms. Valentina?" he asked, climbing onto Dominic's lap. "She left, buddy," Dominic said, his voice rough, "because great-grandma was very unkind." Lower lip trembled. "But you can find her, right? Like in the movies when the prince goes looking for Cinderella?" Dominic pulled his nephew close. I don't even know where to start. Her sister, Hudson exclaimed suddenly. Ms. Valentina always picks up her sister on Thursdays for dinner. Her name's Gabby and she works at the coffee shop near my school. Dominic stared at his nephew in amazement. Hudson Ferreira, you're a genius, I know. Hudson nodded solemnly. Now go get her back. Redefining family, the Mission District pulsed with life as afternoon faded into evening. Dominic felt conspicuous in his tailored suit among the vibrant murals and bustling sidewalks. Gabriella's coffee shop Caf Esperanza occupied a narrow storefront between a botanica and a vintage clothing store inside. The petite woman behind the counter had Valentina's eyes and warm smile, though her hair was cropped short and dyed purple at the tips. You must be the billionaire, she said. When he approached, arms crossed defensively. I wondered if you'd show up. Is she okay? Dominic asked, skipping preliminaries. Gabriella studied him critically. Depends on your definition. She's not crying anymore, which is something. The thought of Valentina crying because of his family made Dominic's chest ache. I need to talk to her. Why? So your family can insult her again? Gabriella's protective anger reminded him of a younger, fiercer version of his grandmother. Val has worked herself to exhaustion for years, college during the day, your house at night, community work on weekends. She deserves better than being some rich family scandal. It's not. Dominic stopped, regrouping. I don't care what my family thinks. I care about her. Something in his voice must have convinced Gabriella. Her posture softened slightly. The community center auction is tomorrow, she said. She lost her chance when she quit your job. 5 years of savings, gone because some old lady made her feel worthless. Dominic felt a plan forming. Where is she now? Our apartment, 4 blocks east. But she won't see you. She doesn't have to, Dominic replied. Not yet. The next morning, Dominic stood at the podium of the Fairmont's Grand Ballroom, ferrying the crowd at the annual Ferreira Foundation breakfast. Every major business leader, politician, and socialite in San Francisco sat at the immaculately decorated tables, including his grandmother and the entire Ferreira clan. For 40 years, he began, the Ferreira Foundation has supported causes that enhance our community. Today, I'd like to announce a new initiative. He outlined his vision, the Ferreira Community Innovation Fund, dedicated to supporting neighborhood-based programs created by local leaders. Its first project, the Sunshine Community Center in the Mission District. This center was conceptualized by a remarkable woman who understands that true community transformation happens from within, not from the top down. He paused, meeting his grandmother's suspicious gaze across the room.
Ow.
This woman taught me that wealth without purpose is meaningless, that family extends beyond bloodlines, and that sometimes the people who change our lives most profoundly are those we least expect. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Beatrice's face had gone rigid. With understanding, the Ferreira name has always stood for excellence, Dominic continued. But moving forward, I want it to stand for something more: compassion, inclusion, and genuine community investment. If anyone objects to this direction, he looked pointedly at the board members present. I'm prepared to lead these initiatives. Independently of my role as CEO, he stepped away from the podium to thunderous applause, ignoring his grandmother's beckoning hand as he headed for the exit where Hudson waited with Teresa. Did you do it? Did you make your big speech? Bounced excitedly. Mission accomplished, Dominic confirmed, loosening his tie. Now for the hard part. Across town, Valentina sat at her sister's kitchen table, surrounded by job listings. Her phone buzzed with texts from Gabriella about the auction she couldn't bear to attend. The building of her dreams would go to someone else today. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. When she opened it, Hudson launched himself into her arms. Miss Valentina, we found you. Behind him stood Dominic, looking simultaneously powerful in his formal suit and vulnerable in his expression. Hudson insisted on being part of the search party, he explained softly. Valentina set the boy down gently. Hudson, sweetheart, why don't you check if Gabby has any cookies in her cookie jar? Once Hudson disappeared into the kitchen, Valentina faced Dominic. You shouldn't be here. I had to see you, he said. To explain, to apologize for my family's behavior, there's nothing to explain. she interrupted. Your grandmother was right about one thing. There are boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. I forgot my place. Your place, Dominic repeated. Stepping closer is wherever you choose it to be. And I desperately hope, you might choose for it to be with me. Valentina shook her head. Dominic, your world and mine, stop, he said gently. There's only one world and we both live in it. I've spent my life surrounded by people who measure worth by bank accounts and family trees. You measure it by kindness, by community impact, by how many soccer games you attend for a boy who isn't even your family. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. I can't ask you to choose between your family and me. You didn't ask? I chose. He took her hands in his. I just announced to every influential person in San Francisco that I'm funding your community center, if the board wants to replace me with Regina after that, so be it. Valentina stared at him in shock. You did what? The Sunshine Community Center breaks ground next month, he said with a smile. Unless its visionary director objects. Director? She whispered. I don't want to just fund your dream, Valentina. I want to help you build it. He cupped her face. Gently. But more than that, I want to build a life with you, a real family based on love, not obligation or expectation. From the kitchen doorway, Hudson watched with bated breath, a half-eaten cookie forgotten in his hand. What about your grandmother? Valentina asked. Vova will come around or she won't. Either way, I'm not losing you again. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. This was my mother's. Before she and my father died, they taught me that love matters more than legacy. I forgot that lesson until you and Hudson reminded me. Inside the box wasn't a diamond ring as Valentina expected, but a simple key? A key? She asked, confused. To the community center, he explained, I'm not proposing marriage, not yet. We have time to build something real first. I'm proposing a partnership, both professional and personal. Will you build with me, Valentina? Not as my employee, or even as my girlfriend, but as my equal? Hudson couldn't contain himself any longer. Say yes, Ms. Valentina. Say yes. Valentina laughed through her tears, looking from the earnest boy to the man who had appended his entire world for her. She whispered, taking the key. To the partnership, to all of it. Dominic pulled her close, his kiss a promise of everything to come. 6 months later, the Sunshine Community Center opened its doors, with Valentina as its director and Dominic as a regular volunteer. Hudson proudly gave tours to visitors, explaining how his uncle and Ms. Valentina were partners in everything now. And at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, standing in the back with the assistance of her cane, was Beatrice Ferreira, grudgingly admitting that perhaps her grandson had found a suitable match after all. As Valentina and Dominic linked, hands before the cheering crowd, Hudson whispered to his great-grandmother with the wisdom of the very young, see, sometimes the best choice is the one right in front of you all along.